Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the Gamerpreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Bradford Carlton. Today, I have a very special guest with us. I have Liam Cullen. Hey there, Liam.
Hey, how's it going?
It's a beautiful sunny day in Las Vegas. How about yourself?
I'm doing all right here. It's a little colder where I am, but enjoying it just the same.
Fantastic. All right, Liam, so let's go ahead and get started. And you just tell me a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So currently I work as the creative lead at a satellite analytics company, but I am slowly moving into a position where I have formed my own indie game development company, and we're developing our first game currently.
Fantastic. I'm going to want to know all of that.
Yeah.
Before we start, I ask every guest a single question. I'm going to ask you just like I ask everybody else, all right?
Sure.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being high, how weird are you, Liam?
How weird am I? I got to say like an 8.5. I'm not going to lie.
Why is that?
I am just fully out there with my personality. So people that see me on LinkedIn, my Facebook, or in person at work, my girlfriend, they all get the same person, which also means that sometimes my filters are a little down here. But I just try to be, myself with everyone. And I think that that genuineness kind of catches people off guard a little bit, but that's just kind of who I am.
So you're saying being a genuine person is weird?
I think to most people, yeah. But that's
right there with you. I get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so this is the Gamerpreneur. But before we get started, I got to get your gaming cred. So how'd you first start getting into video games?
I was kind of born into it. I learned to love it as a kid. It was the way that I distracted myself. But I was just enamored in it, even from a young age, going through and finding out the minute details in every little story, seeing where the art was taking me in this particular space. And of course, one of my first video games that I remember was A Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, which is a classic for most people. But yeah, ever since then, it's just seeing how it's taken off and just the amazing kinds of stories you can tell with it now. I've never not been into it, to be honest.
Fantastic. All right, what are you playing now, if anything?
Currently, I've been dating my girlfriend for about a year, and I've converted her into a total nerd. And as much as she's going to hate me for saying that, but now we are playing through pretty much everything that I've played through before that had an impact. So last night we started God of War, and we were both lights were off, huge TV, and we're sitting there, the volume's up, the bass is up, and we're in the story, and we're feeling every swing of the axe and every little thing. So anything with story or anything kind of fast-paced, that's what we're going through right now.
I love it. I'll have to get your advice because I try to get my wife to play games with me. Got her playing Gears of War. And I'm like, okay, get your chainsaw out. And she starts running the other way. I'm like, wait, what are you doing?
It's definitely a balance when she plays through things by herself too. And I just have to give her space to play the game herself and figure out what she wants to learn. But it's hard to not be so hands-on and say oh, but you're going to miss this exciting story moment or something. It takes time.
I'm not going to tell you the answer to this puzzle, but push that button.
Okay.
All right. So, desert island scenario. If I gave you one video game, an Ethernet cable, and power, what game are you playing?
That is really tough, but I'm going to have to go with Dark Souls 3. I am somebody that loves playing on the hardest difficulty of any game. God of War included, Dark Souls. I actually had a couple of top 100 high scores in Call of Duty. So anything that I can play on the hardest difficulty, Dark Souls, all the From Software games have such rich lore to them. I can just, entice myself with that for hours.
Great choice. I played Dark Souls 1 for 10 minutes.
Yeah. Yep.
Then I was done.
Going backwards is harder now to do, that's for sure.
Okay. So thank you so much for that. Now let's talk about business. So you work for a satellite imaging analytics company.
Yeah.
I put that properly. Okay. And you're starting your own indie development company. Why did you decide to do that?
I have put in a few years at the company is Ursa Space Systems. It's really a great company to work at. I had kind of decided that at this point in my life, I have been such a big part of sort of forming the visual identity for that company that I didn't want to take a step back. I didn't want to walk away from that. I love the people that I work with and the environment, but where I'm at a point in my life is that I also love video games. And when I started this project, I was working 2 full-time jobs, and I would go to work and I'd work 8 hours, and then I'd start working as soon as I got home at about 5:30, and then at about 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning every single day, I'd be done. And that was a little exhausting, so I decided to try to balance that a little bit more. But so far it's worked out great.
Okay. So you're still working you're not doing 2 full-time jobs.
They've allowed me to stay on part-time, and then I'm working just kind of about an average of full-time on the indie development studio.
Fantastic. So tell us about the development studio.
So the name is Multifacet Studios, and we recently formed the business. We're not currently on social, and we're not talking about our first project quite yet, but we're getting underway. We're still getting the right people involved, but there's a few people who have really committed to the vision of us starting this, and just really it's been a wonderful process working with everyone so far.
Okay, so this isn't just a one-man band. Like, you've got a team. How did you get your team together?
Well, like I said, as much as it is off-putting to some people, I like to just be myself in all forms. So if I'm reaching out to somebody on Facebook or on LinkedIn, then I will just kind of use all the contacts that I can and just not be afraid to shoot them a message and say, hey, are you interested in this? Do you know about this kind of work? Like, where can we get started? And is there a way we can help each other? So that's kind of how I started gathering people. And then it just kind of took off from there. And, getting contacts, sometimes they know people, and then sometimes they know a different person, and it just kind of continues on that way.
Okay. How are you funding all this? This isn't coming out of your pocket, is it?
Currently it is, actually. I really am fully invested in this decision. I think that's kind of said by me deciding to go part-time and take the risk. But yeah, funding is coming from me currently. But when we publish our first game, we're considering going with publishers to help fund the costs of getting us on social and getting the game recognized and such.
Okay, now what exactly is your role at the studio?
So I am overseeing I guess what the game is, like what do I want it to be, and creating all of the visuals, including like sprites and maps. We're currently using Unity. Any art that would go into it, backdrops, animations, and then kind of facilitating the whole thing, and then reaching out to certain people when there's a little bit more work than I know how to do or can handle.
Okay. Is it difficult to juggle those different hats?
I would say yes, but it's becoming more manageable. At first, it was hard because I was working in a space that was a little unfamiliar. But as time has gone on, it's just becoming a little bit easier to get in the flow of things and just realize when I use things. I use task management systems and communication channels as well, as any organized group should try to do. And all that has made it a lot easier to have like set dates, set tasks, and then come out with like a rollout plan.
Fantastic. Okay, so you tell me you're very genuine, you're very forthright. What skills do you think you have, or what's unique about you that was able to get you to take the step to do this? Because there's lots and lots of people out there who have all these ideas about what they would like to make, or if I could just do this. But you're one who actually took a step forward. What made you different?
I don't think really I am all that different. I think I just decided to take this step. I think there's, about 2 months ago, you could categorize myself into the group of all those other people who had something to offer but didn't take that step. But now that I've been part-time for about a month, now I'm the person that decided to take the step. So it's really just I think a lot of it about believing in what you're doing. And for myself, I just have to, I want it, so why not go for it? And I think that's really the only separator is seeing it and deciding to learn about it, and then making it your own. And as soon as you make it your own, then you take chances, you reach out to people, you start to define the vision. So it's kind of that moment of, what do these tools, what is this genre, what does all of this mean to me, and what can I make of it? So no difference, but just took a step.
Okay. Now, you've been in it for a couple months, but what advice would you have for somebody who's maybe you 2 months ago? They got the idea, it's not quite there yet. What would you say to them?
I'd probably just say, go with the impulses. I've really been trying to listen to my impulses right now. I'm somebody that tends to be very meticulous and detail oriented, somebody that restricts themselves when, let's say I want to make something, or if I want to try making pixel art, or if I want to do something myself, I might say, well, I'm not that kind of artist, or I haven't done that before, so I can't do that. But I would say it's that moment of making it yours is when you decide to really look at it, take those tools, and do that for yourself. So it's really just like, if you have an impulse, I would say to just take it no matter what it is. Try to be smart about it. I didn't up and quit my job completely. It is a chance, but it is also me having some semblance of a plan.
Having a safety net is helpful.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. What do you wish you had known, before you started yourself?
I think this might be an odd answer, but I don't think that I would have wished that I knew anything more than I do now, because I'm learning a lot. And that is the process that I really enjoy. I'm a puzzle solver personally. I will look at a situation and try to figure out all the steps in between. And so for me, that's the most fun part actually, is figuring it out so I can know how it works from start to end. So getting questions for me is like solving a mystery almost.
Okay. What's the goal for the company? What are you planning to do with it?
I would just like to run it, continue to get these games out to a point where the company can be self-sustainable, and we can just continue to churn out games. If that's something that can bring in some revenue, if we can start, a bigger studio, that'd be great. But I'm also just willing to kind of, I'm very flexible. So, we'll do our best. We'll see where it goes. And if we need to shift directions a little bit, then we'll figure it out when those things come up.
Wonderful. Okay. Now, if I may, can I humble you for a second?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Because, you talked about, you got a fantastic job. You've decided to go off and start this project, the studio, using your own funds, which means you've done fairly well for yourself if you can, front that money there. I don't want everyone to think you're just this awesome guy who's just, nothing goes wrong in his life. So.
Oh my God, no.
Yeah. Can you tell me something that you have failed at?
Everything. Like, not in a depressing way. Everything that I've tried, I've failed at. I am originally an illustrator. I still do digital illustrations, which I have up on my website, but people tend to enjoy those things. But as an example, it's easy to forget that I have a folder of about twice as many failed illustrations, which technically aren't failures to other people, but to me, I think that's what qualifies as failure. And the same thing goes for all of the different tools that I've used and the different art that I've done. Is I have absolutely biffed it and just tried something, and it's just failed miserably. But I think that's just part of the process, On social media, it's really easy to miss, but in real life, people fail.
Okay, and what is something that you're working to improve upon in yourself?
In myself, I think, that's a tough question. I really just want to, I think, communicate my vision more articulately with the team that I'm working with. So instead of just, I have this grand, massive vision inside my head, but how do I convey the feeling of that? The idea, the core of it that I'm trying to represent? How can you get that into the minds of other people?
Can you speak to that? How is it working with a team? How are you getting this vision into their minds?
Slowly, I think, because it takes time for, it takes time as the person who's kind of creating this world or this vision. You don't just form it in 1 second and say, this is the entire thing. Here's all, 50 minute details that go into it. You slowly form the idea and refine it over time. And you have to sort of guide the people that you're working with to that core, to say, okay, here's the broad idea. Now let's get into like the little details, and then you can start to understand it. But it takes time. You can't get yourself there. How are you going to get everyone else there in a moment?
Right. Were you used to running a team before you started the studio?
I've done it a few times in school. I've been a part of, would be a part of a couple of game development teams throughout college. And I was part of a team that I wasn't leading this team, but it was still a small team. So we were very collaborative. We redesigned one of the interior ships for Disney Cruise Lines, and we remodeled the whole inside with some of the installations that were already in there. And it was a very tight-knit group with some very real deadlines, but we got it done. And at Ursa, I have hired a couple of interns, and same thing throughout school a little bit. So it's a position I'm comfortable with.
Okay. Would you have any advice for someone who may be considering starting their first team, doesn't know what it means to be a team leader?
Yeah, I think it would really be to know your weaknesses. So, which, is one of the things, it took me a second to come up with that answer when you had asked it before. But it really is about knowing your weaknesses, know where you're going to come up short for the people that you're trying to talk to, so that you can work with that, because nobody's perfect, myself definitely included. So how can I work with, my shortcomings, and ask people, tag people for help, like somebody who knows who I work or how I work, like ask them to kind of, help me convey the idea, because I may not be doing it the best way, but just know where your weaknesses are and try to work with them for the people that need the information that's in your brain.
Fantastic. Okay. Last question. Well, in a way, what is your ultimate goal in life?
My ultimate goal in life. Actually, it's funny because I was thinking about this a lot today. I really enjoy having people be curious about what's in my mind. It may sound a little bit selfish, but, we're scrolling through Facebook, and we're, I scrolled across your page, and you wonder why that person has an opinion that's worth listening to. And I think a lot of us just kind of desire that affirmation. If somebody plays my game, I don't want it to just be, oh, look at these cool illustrations or these crystals, that's neat. I want it to be like, what is this? What is Liam trying to convey about this story? Like, what's the narrative here? And I think that's what I'm looking for, is just, I want people to see a little bit of a glimpse into the worlds that I'm trying to create, the world that I live in, if that makes sense.
That's amazing. That's great.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
Okay, Liam, how do people find you? How do they get in touch with you? Where are you at on social media with your handles?
My email is info@multifacetstudios.com. So that's the easiest way to contact me. But I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook. Probably if you just wanted to reach out directly, that'd be fine too. But I'm there. So.
All right. Okay. Now, is there anything else you want to talk about, or anything I didn't ask you think we still need to cover?
No, I think we're good. I just want to encourage everyone who is in a similar position to maybe where I am now or where I was before, is just to believe in your own opinions and to go with the impulses really listen to those because what you have to offer is valid. So I feel like everyone who's in this position kind of needs to know that.
It's so true. Well, Liam Cullen, thank you so much for coming on with us today.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that.
All right. Yeah, don't be just a gamer. Be a gamerpreneur.
Yeah.
Hey, if you like this podcast, I'd love to invite you to check out a little bit more about me, Dr. Bradford Carlton, Gamerpreneur. If you go to my website, www.thegamerpreneur.com/bonus, I'm going to give you a free copy of my book, The Warcraft of Business, where I explain my history in both gaming and business and how I brought the two together in order to create some very successful companies and help a lot of people. And all you got to do is pay for shipping and processing, and I'll send you this book. I absolutely know you're going to love it. All right, you all take it easy.